From Washington, D.C. to the heart of America, welcome to Mark Alford's America. I'm freshman congressman from Missouri, Mark Alford, and I believe in America. I believe in you. And most importantly, I believe our greatest days are still ahead. You know, each week, we take you behind the scenes to share the stories, the news, legislation, to meet the great folks who I know who are helping shape our great nation. Today, we're in district talking with Alex Stone. He's a podcaster, a student. He's an up-and-comer in the conservative movement in America. He looks to explore the connection between faith and politics and the spirit of individual potential. He's a 20-year-old, that's right, 20 years young, who is really a Christian patriot trying to win over Gen Z for America. He is host of the Alex Stone Show. You can hear him on Rumble, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. But today, he's here at our home in Lake Winnebago, Cass County. Please welcome Alex Stone. Alex, welcome.
Congressman, thank you so much for having me on. It's an honor, a blessing to be here with you today. I'm excited. I remember when I interviewed you right before you won your election, and that's where we kind of became friends, and
Right.
We've talked here and there a few times. I've tried to get you on my show a bunch of times since then. Hasn't been able to work out, but I'm really glad to be here. I'm excited for your future in Congress. I see so many people, rhino people and people who don't have America's best interests at heart. But when I look at you and the things that you've already done, the things that you did in the first week of being in Congress, I said, this guy's the real deal. To be honest with you, when it was the primary, I was a little concerned. I was like,
Why?
I didn't know anything about your political views.
You just saw me on TV.
I just saw you on TV, and I was like, why is this guy leaving TV to go run for office? I thought the same thing about Carrie Lake, but we all know the truth about her now, that she is, the real deal. And we all know the truth about you, and that you are the real deal as well, Congressman. So I'm excited to be on your show today, talk about my show, talk about Operation Z, things that I'm doing to get Generation Z involved. But like I said, I'm excited.
Well, thank you, Alex. You impressed me right off the bat just because you come across as honest, intellectual, and passionate about America. And for a 20-year-old, and back when I met you, originally you were, I think, 18 at the time.
I think so, yes.
To have that much gumption, there's not a lot of young people in America who are as passionate about saving us, America, as you are.
Mm-hmm.
What was it in your upbringing and your background that led you to this moment?
Right. Well, really, I've grown up in a Christian home my whole life. I've, gone to church. I've gone to a Christian school for most of my life. I was homeschooled for part of it. But I was raised with Christian conservative values and ideology, and I liked it. It seems right, it seems normal, it seems natural, because that's the way that it is. That's the way that God intended it for us as humans, right? And so I grew up this way, and it wasn't really until President Trump got elected that I started paying attention more to politics. I said, you know what, this guy is smart, he's not status quo, and he wants to get stuff done. And that's exactly what he did as president of the United States. He got stuff done despite the fact that the deep state and all of these people were against him. And so after President Trump won the election, I started paying attention more, started getting involved in the Christian realm a little bit more, talking about God, talking about the gospel, talking about politics. Well, in 2019, I was inspired. I wanted to start a Facebook page to share the gospel. And so I did. And about a month of doing so, I started my podcast to go with it. It went 7 episodes, then I stopped because it wasn't my thing. I wasn't good at it. I didn't like it. Well, when COVID-19 happened, I was bored, had nothing better to do, and I saw a lack of hope in the United States of America. I said, you know what? I want to give people hope. So I text my youth pastor and I say, hey, do you want to come on my show? He says, yes. So I have him on my show, and I've really just started from there. And originally it was, Christianity only when I started back up in 2020. But after a few months of COVID, I realized, holy crap, there's something deeper going on behind the scenes.
What do you mean?
That they are pulling the strings to try and pull the wool over everyone in the United States of America.
With COVID?
With COVID, it was really just so much fear going on. And I said, you know what? I need to start talking about politics. And so I did, and I was able to meet people who are, getting politically involved. I've interviewed investigative journalists, interviewed, Kerry Lake, Governor Parson. I've interviewed him twice. Interviewed Roger Stone, General Michael Flynn. People who are involved in politics, have been involved for a very long time, and just want to see a difference made in our country. Really, that's my mission, is to see a difference made in the country, not just with older folks, but also my generation. Because quite frankly, my generation, Generation Z, is the most indoctrinated generation of all time. And I want to make a difference for my generation, for the future generations as well.
We're going to hone in on that in our second segment after the commercial break. But what do you think about what's going on now in politics? We have President Trump, who looks like he's very well headed to the nomination, and I hope very well headed to getting back in the Oval Office to be a resolute leader. What's your take on the presidential race?
Well, I have through and through endorsed President Trump. I think he's the right man for the job. The election, as you and I know, was stolen from him in 2020. So corrupt and so evil, but President Trump deserves to be president because of what he did in the first 4 years of president. And his war on human trafficking and human sex trafficking alone should be the reason why we vote him in as president. But there are so many other things. So I support President Trump. Actually, as we're recording today, after this, I'm driving to Iowa to help support him. I'm going to his...
For the caucuses.
Yes, sir. I'm going to the caucus watch party in Iowa, and just going to be a good time, hang around fellow patriots, fellow MAGA supporters, fellow America supporters, because President Trump's movement, he really started the America First movement, the modern America First movement, and we need to keep it going by electing him as president of the United States. Ron DeSantis isn't the guy. Vivek Ramaswamy isn't the guy. Nikki Haley certainly is not the woman for this job. President Trump is strong. He is a leader, and he's resolute.
When President Biden and the progressives use the term MAGA or MAGA King or MAGA this or MAGA that as a disparaging title or moniker to attach to someone or a movement, it seems like it's backfired. What do you wear that as a badge of honor to be considered MAGA?
I do. I really do.
Why?
Because I want to make America great again. Who doesn't want America to be a great country? If you're living in the United States of America, how could you not want America to be made great again? We had economic boom under President Trump. Joe Biden gets into office, and that all falls apart. In Scripture, in the book of Proverbs, it talks about how when the righteous rule, the people rejoice, but when the unrighteous are in charge, that the people groan. And right now we see groaning all over the United States. The fact that gas prices are higher, the fact that grocery prices are higher, inflation all over the place. People are groaning. People are not able to do the things that they were able to do under the President Trump administration. So yeah, I will wear the title of MAGA very loud and very proud.
When you're interviewing like General Michael Flynn and Roger Stone and Kerry Lake, what do they think of you, this young, bright, good-looking young man who is really taking, I think, the conservative movement by storm? I know here in Cass County and in our district, you're already well known.
I appreciate that. I didn't know that it was well known until you told me that, but thank you. So Roger, for example, he liked me enough to adopt me as his nephew. The first interview that we ever did, he said, "You're my nephew now, Alex." And so we've been rolling with that.
There's no actual blood relationship.
There's no blood relationship unless it's through the blood of Jesus Christ. Yeah. Roger gave his life to Christ a few years ago after President Trump, or right before President Trump pardoned him. But I've become friends with people like Roger. I've become friends with General Flynn. I love them. They like me. And they really want to see Generation Z get involved. And they believe that I'm one of the people that's going to help make that happen.
Of course, there's a big disconnect, I think, with traditional political operations and attracting young people, especially to the Republican Party. And so we're going to get into that in our next segment. It's called Operation Z, and this is really what struck my interest. I wanted to have you on anyway from Mark Alford's America because you inspire me. I wanted you to inspire others. But this is where the future is. When we're talking about the next 10, 20, 30 years, the Republican, the conservative movement in America, we need young people. And Alex Stone is working on Operation Z to educate, I think to convert, to inspire people to greatness in America. You're listening to Mark Alford's America. When we come back, our continued conversation with Alex Stone, a podcaster, student, and a great American. You can hear his podcast, The Alex Stone Show, on Rumble, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Mark Alford's America. We are talking with Alex Stone, a 20-year-old who is taking the world by storm, being a great patriot for the conservative movement and trying to influence other young people through Operation Z. Alex, tell us about Operation Z. What is that?
Right. Well, Operation Z is really a grassroots movement to get Generation Z involved. At the end of July, I was researching the Democrat strategy on how to get Generation Z involved in voting for the people on the left, in voting for Democrats. And so I was researching this, and I said, oh my goodness, they have a strategy, they have a plan. The RNC has nothing, the Republicans have nothing. We're not getting my generation involved. And so I texted General Flynn, and I said, General, do you have time to talk on the phone anytime soon? And he says, yes, call me tomorrow. So we talk on the next day. And I say, this is what's going on. What are we going to do about it? What can we do about it? And he and I, threw around some ideas. And I said, General, are you going to be at Mike Lindell's event in August in Springfield? And he said, yes. And I said, General, I'm going to have a plan for you to get Generation Z involved in voting the right way. Okay. And so it was about 20, 25 days in between that initial conversation with General Flynn and the event in Springfield, Missouri with Mike Lindell. And so I would try and write things on paper. I would try and collaborate with my buddy Cordy Williams, who I'm doing this with 1776 Forever Free. But really nothing came to me. I didn't know, what to do. I didn't know what to write down. Just nothing came to me. And so I get to my hotel the night before the event. I lay my head on my pillow and I'm thinking, I have nothing for General Flynn. I have no idea. I have no idea.
You set up this meeting and you got nothing.
I was so scared. I didn't know what to do. So I pray, God, do what you do. So I lay my head down on my pillow. I fall asleep. And the Holy Spirit wakes me up at 4 a.m. and gives me every single thing to write down, every single thing to say. So I type it all in a sheet on my laptop. I print off a bunch of pages of it, hand it out to people, meet with General Flynn the next night. And he stops me 25 minutes through the presentation and through the meeting, and he says, Alex, this is one of the best presentations I've ever heard. Now, this is a 3-star general. He's been in the Situation Room with President Trump and very big deal in the political movement. He says, Alex, this is one of the best things I've ever... I'm like, that's wild. But it kept me, it made me motivated to continue and do this. So what we're doing is, I know that you're in Congress, and I know that you've talked a lot about TikTok and how China has their tentacles wrapped around in everything. Well, the reality, Congressman, is that my generation isn't watching Fox News. My generation isn't watching CNN or MSNBC or even Rumble. Or they're on TikTok, and that's the unfortunate reality. And they're getting their news, they're getting their information from TikTok. And the sad thing about it is they're not hearing the truth on TikTok. They're hearing lies and propaganda from paid propagandists by the
Chinese.
DNC. You're exactly right. And so they're hearing all of these lies. They're hearing all of this propaganda, and they're thinking, oh, well, this must be the way to go. Okay? And so I said, you know what? We need to have a grassroots movement of Generation Z patriots. We're going to go and storm TikTok with the truth, with ideals about liberty, the Constitution of the United States of America, the Declaration of Independence. Why is the First Amendment the First Amendment? Why did they make that so important? Why is the Second Amendment right after it? Well, it's to defend the First, okay? And so we can talk about freedom. We can talk about the Constitution. We can talk about what is going on in the political scene to an extent. We can't talk about COVID-19 and how that was a scam. We can't talk about the
Why not?
Because it's from China. Because
TikTok kicked that off.
TikTok will kick it off. TikTok has strict guidelines on things, but when you can kind of work around it by talking about just basic freedom. The problem, Congressman, is that my generation doesn't know about the Declaration of Independence. They're uneducated about the Bill of Rights and the Constitution of the United States of America. So what we're doing is we're raising $250,000 to $500,000 to hire and pay Generation Z influencers $1,000 a month. We're trying to get 20 of them. 20 Generation Z influencers, $1,000 a month. And every single day they're going to go and at the same time blast out similar videos talking about this, talking about that, Constitution, whatever.
Building pride in America once.
Yes. Yes. And
instead of tearing it down.
Exactly. And you know, your "I Believe in America" speech that you wrote down a couple of years ago or a year ago, that's the type of thing that we need on TikTok. I believe in America, America's future. I've been able to gather these Generation Z influencers together. We have about 7 or 8 of them right now that have said, yes, I'm in. And right now what we're facing is, you know, we need money to make this work. We need to get money rolling in so we can hire them $1,000 a month so they can go and blast the truth.
You have a 501c3
We
set?
do. Yes, sir.
What's the name of it? How do people
Yes, sir.
contribute
It's
to
1776 Forever Free is the 501c3 that we have. My buddy, Dr. Corey Williams, was the person that set that up during COVID-19 in 2020. And really, his mission and message on 1776 Forever Free is the exact same thing, to educate people about the Constitution of the United States of America. Operation Z is really a byproduct of 1776 Forever Free. So what you guys can do is go to opznow.com, opznow.com. We have an endorsement from General Flynn. We have endorsements from Roger Stone, from Doug Billings and Vandersteel, many people in the conservative movement. opznow.com.
Okay, I will make sure that gets on my social media as well. Doesn't it concern you, though, that you're using TikTok? I mean, this is a Chinese spy tool, and it's almost like you're giving in to the Chinese in order to get our message across. Is there no other way to do this?
Quite frankly, and I hate it. I hate that we have to use TikTok, but I don't think that there's really any other way around it. My generation is on TikTok, and the DNC and the liberals have reached 67 million people my age with their message. That's a lot of people. And we need to counteract that. And the reality is the counteract is going to happen on TikTok.
We're seeing this with the lies that are being perpetrated about Hamas.
Yes. Yes.
Them being the good guys.
It's all over the place on TikTok. I have TikTok, unfortunately, but it's to, promote the truth. And I see that all over the place. And people are buying it. People are believing it and saying, okay, Hamas, they're the good guys. That's garbage. And we need a reawakening of truth in my generation. I believe that Operation Z is going to make that happen. It's a grassroots movement of young Generation Z influencers who are going to go and just promote the truth and spread the truth like a mantra.
Have you started some of your posts already?
We have, yes. So
What's the reaction from those on TikTok?
For me, I don't have a lot of time to be one of the influencers because I'm running a lot of things behind the scenes, meeting with people, doing shows like this. But overall, it's a mixed reaction, okay? And so some people are going to go on there and say, you communist, you fascist, you whatever, bunch of garbage. But then there's people who are saying, oh, I've never thought about it that way. That's interesting. And those are the type of people that we're looking for. We're not going to be able to convert the people that are saying, mean things about us and how we believe and whatever. But there are people who are genuinely questioning what is actually going on. And those are the people that we're trying to reach.
Wow. God's behind this. I would think it was, you said the Holy Spirit came to you with this idea.
That's right.
How big of a role do you think he's going to play going forward with this?
I really think that it's going to play a massive role. Like I said, I'm working with General Flynn, and he's doing a lot of things behind the scenes. I think it's going to be a very, very big deal here in the next couple of months or so. And, I have some pretty big goals for it. What I'm trying to do is trying to appeal to my generation, but also generations who came before me so I can fundraise, okay? And so one of my goals is to get President Trump behind this and to say, okay, we need Generation Z involved. Because really, President Trump doesn't have that Generation Z vote right now, but my goal is to make that happen in 2024.
Well, next time I see him, I will mention it to him.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir.
Operation Z. And again, if people want to donate to the cause, go to opznow.com. Alex Stone, the host of The Alex Stone Show. You can look it up on Rumble, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. Thank you so much, Alex. You inspire me.
Congressman, thank you so much.
Hey.
I'm inspired by you. Since meeting you, I've paid attention. I've looked you up on YouTube a bunch of times and, watched how you've grown as a broadcaster, and it's helped me grow as a broadcaster as well.
God has great things in store for you. I can tell that. Thanks for joining us for Mark Alford's America. We'll talk again next week. Until then, remember, folks, I believe in you. I believe that our best days are still ahead of us. Alex Stone proves that. And I believe in America. God bless. We'll talk next week.